The South African Off-Road Brigade moved to the Eastern Free State, almost on the border of Lesotho, for the recent Engen Caledon 400. The event was the fifth and final round of the South African Off-Road Sprint Series, with dealer team Toyota pair Arpi Reneke and Lucas Dreyer in a powerful position.
We're leading on the sprints at the moment, and I think all that we have to do is to finish this race to win the sprint series. And then the next race is the roof, and if we finish the race at the roof, I think we'll be able to win the South African Championships this year.
The event started with a short time trial to determine start positions for the race proper. As was the case last year, good rain soaked much of the Free State before the race, and there was plenty of water about. With 2 victories already behind them this season, Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in the Motortech Raceco were installed as pre-race favourites. The consistent Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu in the Rapsa Raceco can never be left out of the reckoning. There was plenty at stake as well for Klaus Degener and Tila van Westenhagen in the BP Chenoweth. Degener needed to win to have a chance of lifting the Special Vehicle Championship ahead of Schilling. Rob Walk was hoping for a second win in the Rover V8 powered Super Paved Raceco. Stan Illman and Franz Stengel were out for the first time in the Voltex Raceco Porsche. Franz Czepek Sr. and Franz Czepek Jr. made their debut in the V Motors Raceco. Adrian High and Terry Ryan in an Orco Rotary led a small invasion from Natal, with young Craig Draper and Mike Pretorius linking up in a Draper Raceco Porsche. Stan Illman and Franz Stengel recently completed the London to Sydney Marathon with the Voltex Raceco, a state-of-the-art import from the United States. Former national champion Wilfried Wesslau and Peter Luck made the short trip from Lesotho to campaign the Astoria bread van, with Alex Smith out in a Chenoweth single-seater. Arpi Reneke and Lucas Dreyer were the hot favourites to win Class 6, but could expect a strong challenge from Springbok's Cassie Coetzee and Richard Leek in the Toyota Hilux 4x4. Springbok and former national champion Bux Carolan and Jeff Bell in the 2-wheel drive Toyota Hilux were also among the pre-race favourites. Cliff Barker and Mike Redden had swapped their SVM Jeep for a Land Rover and were giving the new vehicle its first competitive outing. Hot favourites to win Class 5 were Alfred and Tommy van Vuren in the Toyota Hilux 4x4. The time trial produced something of a turn-up for the books, and at the end of the day, everyone had to take a back seat to surprise winner Richard Carolan in the Lubrication Equipment Raceco. Carolan was ahead of the fancied Schilling-Thorne combination, with Illman and Stengel third.
We'll go along and see how the guys come along, and if Richard Schilling comes along, I'll tag him behind him and just stay on the pace if possible. It just depends how much mud we find out there, and I don't think the dust is going to be a major problem today, which is quite nice.
Although starting first does have its advantages, navigation can be a problem for the single-seater drivers. Richard Carolan found this out much to his cost not far from the start. Carolan took a wrong turning and lost 14 minutes before getting back onto the right route. This put Schilling and Thorne into the lead, with Illman and Stengel not far behind. Springbok's Cassie Coetzee and Richard Leek were leading the Bucky Brigade, and Class 6 in the dealer team Toyota. There was plenty of water about, with Coetzee and Leek being hauled in by the turbocharged dealer team Toyota Hilux of Bux Carolan and Jeff Bell. With a definite handling advantage, the turbocharged Toyota rapidly pulled ahead, with Carolan chasing after the leading space frame cars. Stan Illman and Franz Stengel were going well in the new Voltex Raceco fitted with a Porsche motor, but they were coming under pressure from Rob Walk, who was starting to fly in the Super Paved car. Also flying through the field were Klaus Degener and Tilo van Westenhagen in the BP Chenoweth. An impatient Degener had rapidly caught the Carolan Bell Toyota. Behind Carolan and Bell, the Coetzee Leek Toyota still led the Land Cruiser of Arpi Reneke and Lucas Dreyer. Behind the leading bunch, Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu were going along as steadily as ever in the Rapsa Raceco. They were closely followed by Richard Carolan, who was having to work his way back through the field after his navigational problem. racecar wasn't sounding too healthy. The pair were clearly in trouble and were being hauled in by former motorcyclists Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermark in the Nissan Sani. The Italians, in turn, had Cliff Barker and Mike Redden hot on their heels in the Land Rover. All three cars were destined to be classified among the non-finishers. Up at the head of the field, Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne had a clear road ahead of them. The pair had been first on the road from the moment Richard Caledon strayed off course, but were being hauled in by Klaus Degener and Tila van Westenhagen in the BP Chenoweth. Degener and Van Westenhagen started 7 minutes behind Schilling and Thorne, but on corrected time were rapidly closing in on the leaders. As has been the case so often over the last couple of seasons, Schilling and Thorne decided on a race strategy that eliminates risk. It's a policy that has paid off time and again for the pair. Safety first is not in Degener's book of tactics, but a loose plug wire was a problem with the Chenoweth not always firing on all cylinders. With the pace of the race starting to take its toll in a number of competitors, the Bucky flag was still being flown by Bix Carolyn and Jeff Bell, who were pushing hard in the Toyota Hilux. The Super Pave racecar was starting to sound a little rough, but Rob Walk was also trying to force the pace. The RP Reinecker Lucas Dreyer Land Cruiser had taken over Class 6 with the retirement of the Cassie Coetzee Richard Leake Toyota Hilux. Reinecker and Dreyer had moved up to 5th and were being shadowed by Richard Carolan, who had made a good recovery after his early misfortune. Chepek father and son team was starting to make a move through the field in the V-Motors Raceco, but an impressive first outing for Stan Illman and Frans Stangl in the Voltex Raceco was about to end via a steering malfunction. Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne were still out in front in the Motortech Raceco, but were now under serious threat from Klaus Degener and Tila van Westenhagen in the BP Chenoweth, with the Chenoweth still not firing on all cylinders. All Degener had to do to win on corrected time was finish within 7 minutes of the Motortech car. The Bix Carolyn Jeff Bell Toyota Hilux was showing a few battle scars. The pair were also under threat, with Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu and the Chepek father and son combination gradually closing in on the Toyota. The ever-consistent Alberts and Mathieu had once again moved through the field almost unnoticed. Alberts and Mathieu had the slightly worse for wear Carolyn Bell Toyota in their sights, but were in turn being caught by the Chepeks. In an impressive first outing in the new V-Motors Raceco, the Chepeks were starting to mount a late charge. With the onboard camera in the Richard Schilling Ashley Thorne car, the pair were well on their way to clinching the Special Vehicles Championship. Schilling and Thorne had only to finish first or second to clinch the title, and on corrected time were lying second in the race to Klaus Degener and Tila van Westenhagen in the BP Chenoweth. It was another thoroughly professional display from Schilling and Thorne, but you don't win races and championships without a little luck along the way. The race was made safe for Schilling and his Lesotho-based navigator when the unfortunate Klaus Degener and Tila van Westenhagen hit a tree only kilometres from the finish and were forced to retire. There was more late drama when the Chepek team came through to snatch second place ahead of Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu, with Bix Carolyn and Jeff Bell relegated to 4th in the Toyota Hilux.
We've now won 3 events this year, 3 out of the 5 sprint series. Happy for Ashley and myself. It wasn't easy. Klaus was right there, and I think he had an accident in 4-5 Ks from the finish.
Victory clinched the Special Vehicles Championship for Schilling and Thorne ahead of Nardus Alberts and Peter Mathieu. RP Reinecker and Lucas Dreyer wrapped up the Commercial Vehicle Championship in a clean sweep for Toyota. In the Production Vehicle Championship, the honours went to the Watkins-Reed combination ahead of the Walker and Frankenberg brothers.